Between the Stripes LOI Vodcast First Division preview show. We are chatting ahead of the final game, final round of fixtures in the First Division tonight in what has been a mental season in the second tier of Irish football. I'm your host, Kieran Burke, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ethan Fitzpatrick and Gary Reilly for tonight's Vodcast. Lads, how are we doing?
Not too bad.
All right, yeah.
Excited for the last round of games. It's been a mental season, hasn't it, Fitzy?
Yeah, it's been crazy enough now. I suppose it's good to see it go down to the wire, last game of the season, and still you don't know who's going to win the league or who's going to take a couple of the playoff spots. So has that bit of a fiery affair to it now tomorrow night.
Yeah, I suppose we'll start with the title race. And, you often use the word title race on shows like this, and it turns out to be a bit of a damn squid. The Premier Division, we've seen that Rovers, they had a little bit of a battle with Bows, but it never really was a proper race as such. Whereas here we are, final day of the season. Drogs on 36 points, Bray on 35, Drogheda plus 20 goal difference, Bray plus 16. So it's fairly unlikely they'll both end up on 36. So we're going to have a winner one way or another tomorrow night. Drogheda, they are, of course, away to Cabinteely. Bray are away to Athlone Town. Gary, have you got a favourite in the title race tomorrow? Maybe Bray have the slightly easier game?
Yeah, they've probably a slightly easier game, all right. But like Drogheda they're in pole position now, and with a point ahead, I can't really see past them not getting the result that they need. Cabo just aren't playing well enough in the last few games to make, probably to stop Dundalk. So I think Dundalk will be winners come Wednesday morning.
You mean Drogheda?
Drogheda, yeah.
Forgive him, Drogheda fans. He always has Dundalk on the mind, but
it's because you're wearing all the Dundalk gear, Berko. It's hard to remember which team.
Yeah,
that's right.
Inviting the two of you on at the same time was an awful idea, but Cabinteely, Gary, they're still they're fighting, they're scrapping away. They're in that final playoff spot as things stand with Galway and Cove breathing down their necks. So Cabo have to go out and give everything they've got tomorrow. It's not like Drogheda are turning up for a dead rubber expecting to pick up an easy 3 points. It's going to be a battle.
Oh no, it'll definitely be a battle for Drogheda, but it's going to be a battle that I think they're going to win comfortably enough. Maybe not comfortably, but that they're definitely going to win. Cabo are just, they've lost 4 and 5 and haven't, they're even beaten 3-0 at home to us. And I think it was 7 games or 6 games that we hadn't, that Longford hadn't got a result against them, home or away. So I think it's going to be a huge task for Cabinteely to stop Drogheda. And Drogheda have a lot to play for. They don't want to get involved with this playoff rigmarole. So I think it's going to be a Drogheda win tomorrow evening.
And Drogheda won their last 2 meetings with Cabinteely 5-1. They're actually unbeaten at 6 against Cabo, so they've got to have loads of confidence going in there. But of course, they did slip up against Athlone, and we thought maybe the title was gone. But obviously, Galway's win over Bray has put Drogheda back into that pole position. Fitzy, Bray, they've won their last 3 against Athlone. They've just conceded 1 goal when they've scored 9 against the Midlands team in that time. Is there any chance Bray could slip up tomorrow?
No, I don't. I think what'll happen is it'll just be a Drogheda win and a Bray win, and unfortunately that Galway result will have cost Bray the title. I think that's the one that they'll look back on. Especially, I was watching the game there. It was live on Facebook, and Galway looked like the team that were actually chasing the title. Last 15-20 minutes, Galway had all the chances, putting on all the pressure, and I think even the Bray commentator kind of alluded to it, that he couldn't understand why Bray were so slow and the tempo was really flat, So I think, I think we said since the start of the season that Drogheda were probably the best team in the league, and I think all 3 of us, tipped them to win the league. Not sure about you guys, if you had them, did you?
No, I had us, really did. I don't know if that was mental bias, but yeah.
Well, I think me and you, Burke, were talking about it anyway. We both kind of had Drogheda top with maybe Longford in the mix if they could get a bit of consistency or whatever. So, look, I think come tomorrow night it'll be Drogheda champions. And, look, at least we'll have a trip to Turner's Cross if things don't work out for us.
You couldn't wait to get that one in there. But just on Athlone, they are a better Athlone than they were last season. They only picked up 8 points in their 27 games last season. They've got 15 from 17 games this term. So, they can't be underestimated all the same.
No, they have a bit of class in the squad, all right. But look, I just think Bray will have enough. Shaw's been doing well for them, and they have a couple of other players there that kind of hit the ground running, and it obviously shows because they're down to the last game of the season and they could still win the title. But look, obviously you'd be looking at it saying Bray have the easier game, but I still my head just says Drogheda.
Moving on to Cove against Shamrock Rovers 2, Gary. Cove have had a great end to the season. They've won 3 of their last 4. But they go into a game against the Shamrock Rovers 2 side who have won 2 of their last 3. So 2 informed teams meeting here.
Yeah, look, it's a big game for Cove, certainly. I think with Galway and Cove on the same number of points, I think it's going to be a big ask for Cove to sneak in there as well. Like they're really fighting it out for one spot, considering their goal difference as well. So I think it's going to be a bit of a step too far for Cove, but it's not going to be an easy game for them, and they still need to win to have any hope at all. So the quicker they grab a hold of that game and put pressure on Shamrock Rovers too, I think they'll have enough to get the 3 points, but it's probably going to be too much work for a playoff.
Yeah, UCD are pretty much guaranteed their playoff spot. They're in 3rd. They're on 29, as are Longford, but they've got a plus 15 goal difference, UCD. Longford only plus 4. Cabo are on minus 6 on 28 points. Then comes Galway in 6th place on 26 with plus 7. And as you touched on, Gary, Cove, their goal difference might be the undoing of their hopes for the playoffs. They've only got plus 1. They're on 26 points. So, Fitzy, who do you make favourite for the last 2 playoff positions? Drogheda, Bray, UCD, they're pretty much there. Who's going to fill those last 2?
I think on current form, I think Galway are probably the team that are kind of firing the last couple of weeks. They really look like a bit of a revival down there since Caulfield's come in. I know there's a couple. Carlton has kind of got a couple of goals to his name. Like, we've seen the pace and stuff and what they done to Longford there. We were 2-0 up cruising, and they just completely tore us apart. So, my head would say Galway might sneak it, but if from a Longford fan point of view, I'd be hoping Cove get in, because I'd rather face them in a playoff than Galway at this stage. Yeah, even though I know we didn't pick up points against Cove this season, but I still just think that Galway have probably a better squad than Cove.
Yeah, I think Galway have left a few mental scars on Longford already after that 6-2 game. You mentioned that what a job John Caulfield's done there, Gary. 7 wins from the 9 league games since he took over.
Yeah, look, he's done really well, and you mentioned the mental scars there. I don't really like thinking about Galway that much, but look, they did very well. I watched the end of the game against Bray there over the weekend, and they were piling pressure on, as Ethan said. So I don't know if they were full value for the win, but it was a good goal in the end. I think it was a good finish by Carlton. So look, John Caulfield has done a great job getting back into the league.
I mean, if they got into the playoffs, nobody will want to face them. I think if they don't go up this season, you'd definitely be looking at them as one of the favourites next year to go up with the manager and the players they have there.
Yeah, if they keep going the way they're going and they fall foul of the playoffs, then I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if they keep the bulk of their players together and John Caulfield hangs around. I think they'll have a great chance of going up automatically next year. So if they keep that squad together, I think they'll be a very dangerous team. But as you said, I'm not looking forward to playing them if Longford get into the playoffs.
Just on that, you're saying Galway could be strong next year. I know we've already kind of mentioned it, but with Cork going down and Caulfield with the links he had in Cork, the recruitment at Galway next season, he could get a few of the bigger players there to come to Galway.
Yeah,
to buy into
from Cork,
Galway,
is it?
Yeah, Galway is a big club, and the start of the season they had, and I know they were focusing on, I know we've mentioned it, messing or whatever, but the Project DNA and all that sort of stuff. But if Caulfield could keep the bones of the squad, as Gary said there, but recruit a few of these players, like Premier Division players, in, Galway could be a powerhouse next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, who would you want from Cork, Ethan?
I think he's saying the overall players that he's had contact with in the past more so than the current crop.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, sure, he's gone, 18 months now. He would have good contacts and stuff like that. But if you're a Premier Division player, is Galway going to be a destination for you at all? I'm not really sure about that.
I think it would be. I think it'd be a great destination for any player if they're pushing for promotion next season. Great stadium, great city to live in as well. If they're gonna house them there, I don't see why you wouldn't want to play for a club like Galway.
I'm not sure. I think if you're a Premier Division player, certainly Cork had some good players, and I know they had their own problems. So it may be difficult. I don't know. Maybe some of the players would be happy to go down and play in the First Division for a year, possibly hockey the league if they're good enough. But it's an interesting point. All right, I'm not sure if I'd see it though.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be a very competitive transfer market next season, no matter what happens. I get the feeling from both of you, though, you think Cove will probably get their side of the job done against Rovers too. Galway, they're a home to UCD. UCD, the top scorers in the division, 42 goals in their 17 games. 29 of those goals have come from Maddie and Whelan, 15 for Maddie, 14 for Whelan. So they're battling it out for the golden boot. Is there any chance UCD could cause a big upset and end Galway's playoff hopes? I'll throw it over to you, Fitzy, or Gary, whoever wants to take it.
No, I think it's going to be a huge game for Galway. It's UCD are really, as you said, pegging in goals from all angles. So Maddie and Whelan have had brilliant seasons, the two of them. And as you said, only 17 games played. They've been, the highest scorers in the division by a considerable amount, bar Drogheda. So it's going to be a very tough game for Galway, and UCD will want to finish on a high. You want to be really going into the playoffs with a good run of form to stand to you as time goes on. So look, it's going to be an interesting game, but I think it's going to be a very tight game for Galway. They'll want to put out all the stops tomorrow evening to put a stop to UCD, but also to try and get a few goals themselves.
Right, lads, how long have we got here on Wexford against Longford? If you look at the stats for this one, this should be a click of the fingers. You should be able to say, yeah, with full confidence, you should be able to say a Longford Town win, because Longford have recorded 10 straight wins against Wexford. Their last defeat against Wexford was against the Wexford Utes in 2016 in that awful season in the Premier where Longford were relegated. But it's not that simple, is it? Going down to Ferrycarrig Park, difficult place to go. Longford are going to be without Aid Dervin, without Mick McDonald. They're both suspended. I think there's a couple of injury concerns as well. This is going to be a battle. Fitzy.
Definitely. I'm thinking more than likely a 1-0 90th minute absolute scramble in the box. Laptop getting thrown around the house sort of job. Look, I wouldn't be confident at all. Longford, like, we've seen some of the performances we pulled out, but as you said all season, there haven't been 90-minute performances, and there's a couple of players in that Wexford team that if you give them a chance there, a little spark, they can bang in goals. So it's definitely not a done deal, and I'm very nervous.
Yeah, and Gary, Wexford probably feel a little bit wronged as well what's happened off the pitch in terms of the point deduction. Their last game of the season, they'd probably love to round it off on a positive note, given that they're rock bottom of 5 points after that point deduction. And Fitzy's touched on it there. We all know one of the players he's alluding to, Jack Doherty, really creative player. He's the spark in that Wexford team. They've got some other good young players as well. This is a big banana skin game for Longford.
It is, yeah. Look, and I'm quite nervous myself. I'm not looking forward to it really, which is quite a shame considering, we've had some decent performances, even though they're probably maximum of 45-minute performance in any game that we've played this year. So I'm not looking forward to it. I think Wexford will probably feel a bit sore over the way the result went in Bishopsgate earlier this season. It was a great goal to put Longford ahead, but I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Longford, with Wexford wanting to prove a point that they're just not the Pippin boys.
Don't want to mention the term crunch match.
I was just going to bring it up. Yeah.
When have we won a crunch game? When has it come down to the wire and Longford have gone out and given a performance to justify getting a result in a crunch game? I can't think of it. And I've said it this season. I've said it the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
It's just, so that's why I think a lot of fans will be probably very nervous for this one, even though you're looking at the table. Maybe someone from a neutral point of view that's just kind of tuning in to the end of the league would be looking at it saying, oh, Wexford are only on X amount of points, they're bottom of the table, easy win for Longford. But definitely not. It'll be a nervy affair.
Yeah. Right, I guess that's where we'll round it off. We'll just recap the predictions there. Gary, who are you going for in the title race tomorrow night, and who's going to be in the playoffs come the end of the 90 minutes tomorrow?
I think Drogheda are going to win the league. I think they'll just do what's required to round off the season. As I said, they don't want to get involved with the playoffs at all, which I don't blame anyone for. I think the playoffs are going to be it's going to be really interesting. I think the playoffs are going to consist of Bray, UCD. I'm going to stick with Longford for one of the places, and I'm going to say Cove for the final place. Even though I know I said earlier that it'd be difficult for them, but I just think with all the different games that are going on, I think Cove have a good chance of getting the 3 points.
Yeah, I'm gonna match you on that one. Fitzy, give us your run through.
Yeah, no, I think it's a clean sweep there, because I think I'm going to go with that myself. I think Galway could pip it, but from a Longford point of view, I'd rather see Cove get in. So that's who I'll be hoping gets in anyway. But regardless who gets in, I'd say they'll have some crack trying to beat Finn Harps.
Yeah, lads, been great fun chatting with you tonight. Thanks for joining me on the show. Before we go, just to mention, anyone wanting to tune into the final round of games tomorrow, pretty much all of the clubs are streaming. Cabinteely have announced they're streaming free that game against Drogheda, so big well done to Cabinteely there. Cove are streaming their game against Shamrock Rovers. Galway, their streams are absolutely top notch. They're streaming against UCD, and Wexford will be streaming the game against Longford. I'm not 100% sure on Athlone whether they're streaming or not, but you can check out the information there on either the Athlone or Bray social media channels. But that's it from us. We'll be back between the Strikes LOI podcast on Wednesday night, where we'll be looking back on the big stories from the Premier Division. Of course, Shamrock Rovers crowned champions, Cork City relegated, and we'll be reviewing these final round of games in the First Division. So fingers crossed that Longford will get there, and best of luck to all the teams tomorrow night. Lads, thanks very much.
Cheers, Burke.
No bother, Kieran. Have a nice evening.